Hey guys, my name is Lindsay Cummings and I'm the author of the Murder Complex series, the Balance Keepers trilogy, and most recently Zenith, the Andromeda Saga, which you can pre-order. It's coming out on August 1st. I've been an author since I was 19 years old. I'm 25 now, and the number one question that I get all the time at events, on emails, on social media is, how do I get my book published? When I was 19 years old, I got my book deal for the Murder Complex. When I was 21, I got my book deal for the Balance Keepers trilogy. It took me until I turned 25 to hit the New York Times list. It's been 6 years, and only now do I feel like I'm able to finally give you guys a good, solid bit of information about the publishing world. And so I bring you the How to Get Published series. Each video is going to be a new step in the process and kind of how I got into publishing, and then you guys will be able to interpret that and hopefully make your own journeys. I am not going to go into the story of how I actually got into writing. If you guys want to watch that, I have a video, I will leave a link below, about my whole start into the writing journey. But long story short, I got sick with chronic fatigue several years ago after I graduated high school, and now several years later, the whole course of my life and all the dreams that I had for myself were altered, and now I am here as a full-time author. I started writing my first book and I didn't stop, and that's when I finally realized that step one of the process to getting your book published is perhaps the most obvious, and that is finish the book. I can't tell you how many authors told me this when I was younger, when I went to book signings or book events and I was like, hey, I really want to get published, and that was the bit of advice that they gave me. I felt like, okay, yeah, that's crappy, kind of obvious advice, but now looking back, I realize it's the best bit of advice that I have ever gotten and could ever give anyone that wants to write a book. The most important thing that a writer can do to jumpstart their journey into publishing is actually finish the book that they're working on. And again, this may seem obvious, but it is literally the number one thing that you can do to start your journey as an author. I'm talking about finishing a book start to finish, with people having read it, with you having gone over and over and polished this thing until you're almost sick of it because you've worked on it for so long. A lot of people think, hey, I want to get published, how do I do it? I've got, a couple chapters of this book, or I have half of a book, but the number one thing that you can do is actually finish the book. And once you've done that, you're already way ahead of the race. Second most important thing is for you to decide what your dreams are. Dreaming is one of the most important factors in publishing. I believe this because I know that it takes a lot of dreaming to push yourself towards the end goal of seeing your book on the shelves. Publishing is a very, very long journey, and having that dream that you can always look to is what's going to carry you that way. Another thing you have to know about this video series is that I'm not going to lie to you guys, and I'm not going to sugarcoat publishing. Getting published is not easy. In fact, it's actually the hardest thing I've ever had to do, besides coming to terms with the fact that I'm not really a wizard and will not be going to Hogwarts. Publishing is soul-sucking, it's emotionally taxing, it's mentally taxing, it's work, it's loneliness, it's competition, it's sleepless nights, it's early mornings. It's the feeling of that end goal, that dream you've had, never coming any closer, and then suddenly one day, it's there, and it's so worth it. I say all of this not to deter you from publishing, but to encourage you guys to start dreaming about what you want. When I was younger, my dad used to take me to the bookstore all the time. It was Barnes & Noble in Frisco, Texas, and I would go there with him on school nights, and he would let me look through the bookshelves and pick out a book, and then I would go home and read it super late into the night, and then I'd be super exhausted for school the next day. And so when I started writing books, I remember thinking, you know what, someday I want to go into that exact bookstore, and I want to look through the shelves, and I want to see my book sitting there, and I want to pick it up and take it to the register and slam it down on the counter and be like, I wrote this book, and then I want to buy it. But in order to do that, I knew that I needed to be traditionally published. Basically, this means having a publisher that's large enough with a distributor that's large enough to be able to get your book on the shelves of libraries, bookstores, nationwide, and in some cases, if you're lucky, actually getting it internationally, and also translated into other languages. My dream growing up was to get my book into the hands of people that publish the books that I loved, like The Hunger Games, like the Ugly series by Scott Westerfeld, like the Chronicles of Narnia, Harry Potter. If that is your dream too, then I think that's amazing. And it's time for you guys to settle in, because now I'm going to give you my best advice on how to get started if your dream is similar. It has not been easy. Nothing in publishing is ever going to be handed to you. And I think that's why, again, that finding your dream, realizing what you want as your end goal in publishing is a really important place to start. The writer's dream, that's what we do. That's what writing a book is. We come up with characters and stories and distant lands, and then we want other people to read about them. Dreaming is writing. Dreaming is telling a story. It's about putting those dreams to paper and then passing them on to someone else in the pages of a book. So, finish the book, start dreaming about what you want, what your goals are. And then stay tuned for part 2, the official start to the series, where I will give you guys my very best advice on how to get published. Settle in, it's gonna be kind of a crazy ride. I am only one perspective, so remember that. Start dreaming, start working on your book. And remember, I love you, God loves you, do not forget to love yourself, and I will see you guys next time. I never say this at the end of videos because I really don't like it, but please subscribe so you guys will not miss the next part in this series. I'm so excited to share my experiences with you guys. I will see you guys next time. Bye!